I remember the night I hit rock bottom. It was 2:13 a.m. I was sitting alone, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the pieces of a life that had just shattered. My hands were trembling, not from the cold but from fear. Fear that I wasn't enough, that I had failed, that maybe this was the end of the road. But in that moment, the darkest one I had ever known, something inside me whispered, "You're still here." And that whisper, it turned into a roar. Because that night I realized something that changed everything. There is no reason for not trying. Not fear, not failure, not what they said, not what you've been through, not even the voice in your head telling you that you can't. That breakdown, it wasn't my end, it was my beginning. That moment of struggle was a setup for my rise, a setup for transformation, a setup for purpose. And so I rose, with trembling hands, yes, with a heart full of doubt, yes, but I rose anyway. Because trying is how we heal, trying is how we grow, trying is how we win. So today I'm here to tell you, if you're standing at the edge of your own breaking point, don't step back, step forward, because the next chapter of your life, it's going to be your most victorious yet. I remember the moment I hit rock bottom like it was yesterday. And maybe that's because when life knocks the wind out of you, really knocks it out of you, something in your soul never forgets how that felt. You don't forget the silence in the room after your dreams collapse. You don't forget the weight in your chest when the people you trusted walk away. You don't forget the tears you cried when no one was watching, when you weren't even sure if you'd make it through the next hour. But here's the truth most people miss. Rock bottom is not the end. It only feels like it. It's the place where everything that was false about you is stripped away. The expectations you were never meant to carry, the roles you played just to keep others happy, the masks you wore so no one would see how scared or unsure you really were. Rock bottom doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to reveal you. Because when you have nothing left to lose, you stop pretending, you stop trying to impress, you stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. And for the first time in maybe forever, you're forced to look inward and ask, who am I really? What do I really want? What's worth fighting for? And those questions, that's where rebirth begins. There's something sacred about the moment when everything is broken and silent. Because in that stillness, in that sacred pause between heartbreak and healing, you discover the one thing that can never be taken from you, your will to rise. See, the world will tell you that success is found at the top, when the bank account is full, when the stage is yours, when the applause echoes. But real success, it's built right there in the rubble. It's when you choose to take one step forward, even when your legs are weak. It's when you refuse to give up even though nothing makes sense. It's when you whisper, "I'm not done yet," through gritted teeth and swollen eyes. It's when you realize that rock bottom isn't a grave, it's a foundation you get to rebuild on your terms, with intention, with truth, with grit and grace and fire in your belly. Every brick you lay after that is built with experience, wisdom, pain, hope, and above all purpose. So don't despise your rock bottom moment. Don't rush past it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Honor it. Because that's the place you learned what strength really is. That's where you met the real you. The version that doesn't quit. The version that fights back. The version that gets up with scars on your body and fire in your eyes. You may have been brought to your knees, but you were never meant to stay there. You're still breathing, which means you're still becoming, which means it's not over. Rock bottom, it was just the beginning, and beginnings are sacred. There's a lie that's been quietly whispered into the ears of so many of us, and unfortunately many have believed it. It's the idea that we need to wait. Wait until we feel ready. Wait until we feel ready. Wait until we're qualified. Wait until the fear goes away. Wait until the perfect time arrives. But I'm here to tell you the truth. That perfect moment, it doesn't exist. There is no perfect time. There is only now. We trick ourselves into thinking that the stars have to align. The finances have to be stable. The relationships have to be supportive. Our self-confidence has to be rock solid. And then we'll begin. Then we'll chase the dream. Then we'll take the first step. But life doesn't wait. And purpose doesn't wait either. The idea that we have to be ready before we try is one of the greatest illusions that paralyzes potential. Readiness is not a prerequisite for greatness. Action is. And the ones who truly rise in life, the ones who live with fire and leave a mark, they start even when they're unsure. They begin before they feel brave. They show up trembling, afraid, uncertain, but they show up anyway, because waiting for the perfect time is fear's favorite strategy. Fear loves procrastination dressed up as preparation. It tells you, just a little more time, and maybe next year, and let's play it safe. But what it really means is, let's stay small, let's stay stuck, let's stay silent. You don't need more time, you need more truth. And the truth is, every second you hesitate is a second stolen from the life you were born to live. Every time you postpone your calling, you're delaying someone else's breakthrough, because your purpose is connected to more than just you. Someone out there is waiting on the courage you've been trying to talk yourself into. They're waiting on your words, your work, your vision, your example. Now that's not meant to pressure you, that's meant to ignite you. Because when you realize that someday is not a date on the calendar, that it's actually a form of self-sabotage, you stop waiting and you start moving. You stop asking for permission, and you start walking in purpose. You stop doubting your timing, and you start trusting your divine momentum. You don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to begin. Take the step, even if it's shaky, even if it's small, especially if it's scary. Because the path doesn't appear before the step, it appears after it. Life rewards motion. The doors won't open while you're staring at them. They open as you move toward them. And sometimes you'll find there was never a door at all, just a wall you were meant to break through. Let go of the idea that readiness comes first. It doesn't. Readiness is not something you wait for, it's something you build. It grows every time you choose courage over comfort. Every time you take the leap not knowing if the net will catch you. Every time you trust that your steps are ordered, even when the road is foggy. You're not too late. You're not too early. You're exactly on time, because you're here, now. This is your moment. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when things calm down. Now. Because the truth is, trying now, while you're scared, unsure and imperfect, is 1,000 times more powerful than waiting for someday, hoping to be flawless. The people who change the world are the ones who dare to begin, even when the ground is shaking beneath them. So stop waiting. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs a present one. And there's no better time to begin than now. Fear, it's one of the most persuasive forces on the planet. It knows your name, your patterns, and it knows exactly how to speak in a voice that sounds like your own. It doesn't need to shout. It just whispers, constantly. Quiet, subtle suggestions that chip away at your confidence and sabotage your momentum. You're not ready. What if you fail? What will they think? Who do you think you are? And little by little, those whispers start to shape your decisions. You start to settle. You stop taking risks. You begin to live a smaller life. Not because you aren't capable of more, but because fear has convinced you that it's safer to stay where you are than to step into who you could become. But let me tell you the truth. Fear is a liar. It wears 1,000 disguises. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism. Sometimes it dresses up as procrastination. Other times it calls itself logic, or timing, or even humility. But underneath it all, fear is just one thing, a barrier. A wall built entirely out of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios, keeping you from what's already been placed inside of you. Fear will never tell you the whole story. It only shows you the part where you fall, never the part where you rise. Fear won't remind you of how strong you are. It won't bring up the things you've survived, the odds you've already beaten, the strength that's already in your bones. It won't tell you that the dream you carry is not random, that it was assigned to you for a reason. Fear wants you blind, blind to your power, blind to your potential, blind to your purpose. And if you listen to it long enough, you start to mistake it for wisdom. You start calling your playing small, being realistic. You call your hesitation, being cautious. But deep down, you know it's not truth, it's fear. And it's time to stop letting it lead. You weren't made to live in fear. You were made to live in faith. Faith that even when you don't know exactly how it's going to work out, it still will. Faith that even if you trip, you'll learn something valuable in the fall. Faith that your life is not some random series of events, but a story unfolding with divine intention. Yes, fear will still show up. It doesn't just disappear, but you don't have to let it drive. You can let it sit in the back seat, while faith takes the wheel. Because here's the thing, courage isn't about being fearless. Courage is about moving with the fear. It's about hearing that voice in your head telling you to stop, and choosing to go anyway. You don't have to be unshakable to be unstoppable. You just have to keep walking, even if your knees are trembling. That's what makes you brave, not the absence of fear, but your refusal to be controlled by it. And here's a little secret. Fear isn't a sign that you're not ready. It's a sign that you're getting close to something powerful. It shows up when you're on the edge of growth. It rises when you're nearing breakthrough. It screams loudest right before you do something that matters. So let fear be a signal, not a stop sign. Let it remind you that you're alive, that you care,
that something deep inside you is waking up. But never, never, let it hold the pen that writes your story. Because fear may speak loud, but truth speaks deeper. And the truth is, you are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you know. And everything you need to begin, to move forward, to transform, it's already within you. Fear is a liar. So speak back, and walk on. You've got a life to build.
It's the thing you carry everywhere you go, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes it's a quiet presence sitting in the background. Other times it grabs the mic in your mind and shouts, "Remember when you failed? Remember when they left? Remember when you messed everything up?" It becomes a soundtrack of shame, looping on repeat, and without even knowing it, you start to believe the lie that your past is your prison, that your mistakes, your pain, your history, they're chains you'll never be free from. But I want to tell you something today that could change the trajectory of your life if you let it settle in deep. Your past does not define your future. Not even close. Yes, you've been through some things, you've made decisions you regret, you've trusted people who betrayed you, you've lost battles, you've been wounded, bruised, broken. But those moments, even the darkest ones, are not the whole of who you are. They are part of your story, not the sum of your identity. Let's be clear, your past is real, but so is your power to rise from it. Because you are not what happened to you. You are not the choices you made when you didn't know better. You are not the identity others tried to project onto you. You are not the failures, the rejections, or the missed opportunities. You are what you do now. You are the choices you make today. You are the courage it takes to keep moving forward when your history tries to pull you back. Some people never grow beyond their past because they've built a permanent home there. They revisit old pain like it's a familiar friend. They wear guilt like a second skin. But you don't have to live like that. You can visit your past, learn from it, honor it, heal it, but you don't have to live in it. You were not created to be defined by what broke you. You were created to be refined through it. Everything you've been through, the heartbreak, the failure, the betrayal, the detours, they've all been shaping something in you, not punishing you, preparing you. Because pain, when transformed, becomes power, and lessons, when owned, become wisdom, and scars, they're proof that healing is possible. So don't hide from your past, don't run from it, don't pretend it didn't happen. Stand in front of it and say, yes, that happened, but it doesn't own me anymore. Forgive yourself, let go of the shame, release the blame, and choose to reclaim your story. You see, there are people living smaller than they were meant to because they've accepted a version of themselves based on an outdated chapter of their life. But who you were at your worst moment is not who you are now. You've grown. You've survived. You've evolved. You've earned the right to look in the mirror and see someone new. And guess what? You're allowed to reinvent yourself. You're allowed to stop replaying old tapes. You're allowed to let your past be your teacher, not your jailer. Just because it started one way doesn't mean it has to end that way. You are not stuck. You are becoming. And the most beautiful part, every time you rise in spite of your past, you give someone else permission to believe that they can too. You become a living, breathing testimony that it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. So walk forward, head high, shoulders back, leave the shame behind, take the lessons with you, and know this: your future is still unwritten, and it's waiting on you. Your past may have shaped you, but it doesn't define you, and it never will. Trying. It's such a simple word, isn't it? So small, so understated. But beneath it lies a thunderstorm of courage, the kind of courage that can shift your entire life if you truly understand its power. Because trying is not just some casual attempt, trying is hope in motion, trying is faith made visible, trying is saying, I'm not giving up, even when everything inside you says, I'm tired. See, people underestimate the boldness it takes to try, especially after you've been disappointed, especially after the last time didn't work out, especially when you're not sure how many more hits your heart can take. But trying again is one of the loudest declarations of faith a human being can make. It's standing in the rubble of what didn't go right, and still daring to reach for more. It's hearing the echo of failure and still choosing to sing a new song. It's being terrified and tired and trembling, and still saying one more step. Trying is how we heal, not thinking, not waiting, not planning. Trying because trying means you haven't surrendered to fear. Trying means you still believe there's something beautiful on the other side of all this pain. Trying means you refuse to let the past have the final say. And let's be honest, sometimes trying doesn't feel glamorous. Sometimes it's messy. It's getting out of bed when your body aches from the weight of sadness. It's putting yourself out there again when rejection still stings from last time. It's whispering a prayer into the dark, even when it feels like no one's listening. But don't you dare underestimate the power of that kind of effort. Because trying is what builds the bridge between where you are and where you're meant to go. You're not always going to feel motivated. You're not always going to feel ready. But if you can just keep trying, with every ounce of energy you've got, with whatever hope you can scrape together, then you're already doing the most powerful thing you can possibly do. You're refusing to give up on yourself, and that matters. In a world that glorifies perfection and performance, trying is revolutionary. It's choosing progress over pressure. It's saying I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not staying where I was. It's daring to show up again and again, even if you're the only one who knows how hard it really is. Trying is proof of life. It's a heartbeat, it's a fire that won't go out. And if all you can do today is take one small step, take it. That step counts. It matters. It builds something inside you that no one can see yet, but one day it will show. The people who rise, the ones who make it through, the ones who go on to do incredible things, they weren't the ones who always got it right, they were the ones who kept trying. So if you're standing in a hard place right now, in a season of uncertainty, or loss or fear, I want you to know this. You don't have to have the answers. You don't have to fake strength. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to try. Try even when it's uncomfortable. Try even when you're scared. Try even when nothing guarantees that it will work, because trying means you're alive, and it means you still believe that something better is possible, and belief is where breakthrough begins. Every mountain climbed, every story of triumph, every life transformed, they all started the same way, with a decision to try. So if you're wondering what you can do today, start there. Try again. Try until trying becomes becoming, until becoming becomes breakthrough, and breakthrough becomes the life you knew, deep down, was always waiting for you. Because trying is not a weak attempt, it's the most powerful form of faith there is. There comes a moment, maybe not once, but again and again, where you are forced to face a hard truth. You're in the middle of a battle you didn't choose. Life didn't ask for your permission, it just threw you in. The diagnosis came, the job was lost, the betrayal cut deep, the dream unraveled, and suddenly everything you thought was stable is now shaking, and you're left standing in the ruins, wondering how you'll ever rise again. But here's what I need you to hear with your whole heart: even in the fire, you are not alone. There is a strength inside of you that adversity cannot erase. There is a light in you that darkness cannot put out. And most of all, there is a purpose in this season, even if you can't see it yet, even if all you feel right now is pain, confusion and fatigue. Even if you're clinging to hope by a thread, still this moment is not meaningless. Pain has a way of pulling back the veil on everything false in our lives. It shows us what really matters. It reveals who's really with us. It forces us to dig deep, to go further than we ever thought possible, not around the hardship, but through it. This is where courage is born, not in the absence of hardship, but right in the heart of it. You may not realize it now, but what you're walking through is refining you. It's burning off what was never meant to stay. It's developing in you a depth, a fire, a resilience that cannot be faked or fast-tracked. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And growth always starts underground, in the dark, in silence, where no one else can see it. There is something sacred about the struggle, because it's in the valley, not on the mountaintop, that you discover who you really are. That's where your character is forged. That's where your faith is tested and strengthened. That's where you stop pretending to have it all together, and instead start building something unshakable. Listen, I know it's hard. I know there are nights when the tears won't stop. I know you've questioned everything, even your own worth.
I know how it feels to pray and hear silence, to fight and still lose something precious, to hope and still see the door close. But just because it's hard doesn't mean it's hopeless. Just because you're in the fire doesn't mean you're being destroyed. Some things are only born in fire, like steel, like diamonds, like a new you. Sometimes life has to break you open to show you what you're really made of. And you're made of grit. You're made of grace. You're made of the kind of stuff that doesn't fold when the storm comes. You were not made to quit, shrink, or disappear. You were made to overcome. And you will. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've made a decision to keep going. Because you've got breath in your lungs and purpose in your bones. Because something inside you knows this is not the end of your story. The fire you're walking through now. It's forging a new strength in you that nothing will ever steal. And one day you'll look back and say, that's when I changed. That's when I changed. That's when I stopped running. That's when I stood my ground and refused to let fear win. You're not going to come out of this the same. And that's a good thing. You're going to come out wiser, deeper, more powerful than you've ever been. The kind of power that can't be taught, only earned through survival. So whenever it feels heavy, keep walking. When the weight of it all presses down, keep breathing. When it seems like you're not making progress, trust that roots are growing deep. You are in the fire, but you are not finished. You are being refined, not ruined. You are being strengthened, not shattered. You are being prepared, not punished. Hold on. Keep showing up. Keep believing. Because breakthrough is on the other side of this pain. And when you get there, you'll understand. This fire didn't come to destroy you. It came to awaken you.
Let's talk about growth. Not the kind that's polished and pretty, but the kind that's gritty, stretching, often uncomfortable, and undeniably real. The kind that doesn't happen in applause or spotlight, but in silence, in solitude, in struggle. Because real growth doesn't always feel good, it feels necessary. Growth demands that you leave the familiar, not because it's bad, but because it's no longer enough for who you're becoming. It asks you to shed the version of yourself that once kept you safe but now keeps you stuck. And that's not easy. That's not instant. Growth takes time. And more than time, it takes truth, the truth that says, you were never meant to stay where you started. See, we all begin somewhere, in fear, in doubt, in limitation. But the goal was never to stay there. The goal was to evolve, to expand, to become. And yet we resist growth. Not because we don't want it, but because we don't want the discomfort that comes with it. We want change, but we also want certainty. We want transformation, but we'd rather avoid the tension. But growth is tension. Growth is pressure. Growth is saying yes to the unknown and no to the version of you that's afraid of it. You will not grow in your comfort zone. You will not grow if you only pursue what is easy. You will not grow if your only goal is to avoid pain. You grow when you choose progress over perfection. You grow when you lean into resistance instead of retreating. You grow when you decide to stop shrinking for the sake of staying liked, accepted, or unchallenged. And the truth is sometimes growth looks like letting go. Letting go of old stories you've told yourself. Letting go of toxic attachments. Letting go of outdated dreams that no longer align with your deeper calling. It means choosing truth over tradition, purpose over performance, and peace over people pleasing. It's not selfish to grow, it's sacred. And yes, it's going to feel like loss sometimes because it is. Growth is loss, it's the death of old identities, old habits, old versions of you that were once necessary but are no longer relevant. But with every loss, something new is born. New clarity, new capacity, new courage. You won't always get applause for growing. In fact, some people in your life may not understand it. They may resist it. They may try to pull you back into the old pattern, the old rhythm, the old identity. Not because they're bad people, but because your growth shines a light on their stagnation, and that's uncomfortable. But don't dim your light to make others comfortable. Don't shrink your calling to stay palatable. You were not created to live a life of quiet desperation. You were created to grow into the fullness of who you are. And guess what? There is no finish line to this. Growth isn't a destination, it's a lifestyle. It's not something you accomplish once and then move on. It's a constant becoming. Every season will call for a new version of you. Every level of purpose will require a deeper level of self-awareness, discipline, and faith. So embrace the awkward stages, the in-between seasons, the times when nothing makes sense, but something inside you says, keep going. Those moments matter. They are sacred. They are where the real work is being done. That's where the roots go deep. The character is built. The foundation is strengthened. This is the soil of transformation. Growth doesn't mean you're always strong. It means you're always willing. Willing to keep rising. Willing to stay honest. Willing to stretch beyond the borders of your comfort. That's where greatness lives. Not in the perfection, but in the process. So take the pressure of being finished. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. One courageous step at a time. One bold choice at a time. One faithful yes at a time. You are not who you were, and that's the point. You are evolving, and the world desperately needs who you're growing into. There's a voice that echoes in the back of your mind, sometimes subtle, sometimes deafening. The voice of fear. It whispers lies, dresses up in logic, and pretends it's protecting you. It tells you to stay quiet, to play small, to avoid the risk, to wait until you're ready, until you're more confident, until the timing is perfect. But deep down, you already know the truth. If you keep waiting for fear to leave, you'll be waiting your entire life. Because fear doesn't just vanish. Fear isn't something you outgrow like childhood clothes. It's something you move through. It's something you face, not erase. And most of all, it's something you refuse to let drive your decisions. Fear will always knock, but you don't have to open the door. The people who do the impossible, they're not fearless. They're simply bold enough to act in spite of the fear. They feel it, acknowledge it, and then move anyway. That's what courage is. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing action in the presence of fear. Let's be real. Fear has a purpose. It's trying to protect you. It's your brain's way of saying, hey, this could go wrong. But if you let fear lead, it won't just protect you from danger. It'll also protect you from growth, love, purpose, and everything meaningful. Fear doesn't differentiate between real threat and real opportunity. It sees change and says, that's risky. It sees dreams and says, you might fail. It sees possibility and says, what if they judge you? But here's the thing, everything you want is on the other side of that voice. Your purpose, your breakthrough, your healing, your joy, your influence, your legacy. It's all sitting just beyond the walls fear tries to build around your life. And no one can tear those walls down but you. You have to decide, will I let fear run my story? Or will I take the pen back and write something bolder? Yes, you'll be scared. Yes, you might fall. Yes, people may not understand your journey. But you weren't put on this earth to be understood. You were put here to be unleashed. And that means stepping through fear, even if your knees are shaking. It means showing up when you'd rather hide. It means saying yes to the call on your life, when it would be easier to blend in. Fear is loud, but your faith can be louder. Your why can be stronger. Your vision can be bolder. Because the truth is, when you stop waiting to feel fearless and start walking forward with courage, something shifts inside of you. You reclaim your power. You step into a new identity. You begin to trust yourself. And in time, that trust builds confidence. That confidence builds consistency. And that consistency builds a life that's not built on fear, but on fire. You'll look back and realize the fear never really had any power. It only had permission. It could only control what you gave it. And when you finally said, enough, I'm done being ruled by this, you broke something open. You created space for something greater, for faith to lead the way. So the next time fear shows up, and it will, don't be surprised. Expect it, but don't bow to it. Look it in the eye and say, you don't get to decide what I do with my life anymore. Speak your truth, even when your voice shakes. Stand your ground, even when your knees tremble. Take the step, even when the path isn't fully lit. Because boldness isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to move anyway. And the more you move, the more fear loses its grip. This is your moment. Not when fear disappears, but when you stop letting it decide who you're going to be. There's something extraordinary waiting inside of you, not in some distant future, not in a version of you that has it all together, but right here, right now, in the very person you are today. You may not fully see it yet. You may not have felt it in a while. Maybe life has buried it under disappointment, under routine, under the weight of the battles you've silently fought. But it's there, and it's waiting for permission to rise. See, we spend so much time looking ahead, waiting for some magical day, when it all finally makes sense. When the doors fly open,
when the fear vanishes, when the confidence arrives, like a lightning bolt and says, now you're ready. But let me tell you something powerful. You don't need to wait for a sign. You are the sign. You don't need more qualifications to begin. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need everyone's approval. You only need one thing, the decision to rise from the ashes of your doubt, to rise above the weight of your past, to rise into the life that has always been calling to you, the one that doesn't just look good from the outside, but feels alive on the inside. Rising is not about pretending that everything is okay. It's not about faking strength or putting on a brave face. It's about honoring the strength you already have, the quiet, relentless resilience that has gotten you through every single hard day, the strength that whispers, I'm still here, even after the storm tried to tear you apart. And I want you to hear this deep in your spirit. You were not created to stay stuck, not in shame, not in fear, not in mediocrity, not in someone else's version of who you should be. You were born with purpose, and that purpose isn't something you earn, it's something you remember. You've already got what it takes inside of you. It's in your scars, they tell stories of survival. It's in your voice, even if it trembles, it carries truth. It's in your hands, still capable, still open, still ready to build something new. But here's the key. You have to believe that your next chapter can be different. You have to be willing to turn the page, to stop rehearsing the pain, and start reclaiming your power, to stop shrinking to fit the expectations of others, and start expanding into the truths of who you are. And that kind of rising, it's scary, because it means releasing control. It means walking into the unknown. It means stepping into rooms where you might not feel enough, but you are enough. You're more than enough. Not because you're perfect, but because you're willing to grow, willing to try, willing to fail forward, willing to trust that who you are becoming is far greater than who you've been. So stop waiting for everything to line up. Stop waiting until you feel worthy. Stop waiting until the fear leaves, or the pain fades, or the timing is right. The time is now, and you are already equipped for the rise. Because rising isn't just about you, it's about every life you're going to touch. When you finally step into your calling, it's about the people watching you, waiting to see if it's possible to come back from heartbreak, from failure, from loss, from fear. When you rise, they find permission to rise too. So rise for the version of you that believed, even when no one else did. Rise for the little wins, the quiet battles, the invisible growth. Rise because your life is too precious to live on autopilot. Rise because the world desperately needs your voice, your vision, your fire. And when you do, when you stop holding back and start living fully, you will look back and realize this was the moment it all began to change. This was the moment you stopped letting life happen to you and started living on purpose. This was the moment you chose faith over fear. This was the moment you declared, my next chapter will be my most victorious yet. So rise, not because it's easy, rise because it's time. Stand tall, lift your chin, and say it with me, I will not shrink back, I will not be silent, I will not stop trying, because I was made for this, and my next chapter will be my most victorious yet.